We don't get what we want in life, friend. The reality is we get what we expect. We don't get what we want in life. We get what we expect. How many want a better life? How many want a better relationship? How many want their children to do better in school? How many want to get that promotion, bonus, or raise? How many people want that? Almost always. Almost always. Every hand goes up. In a live session one time, I asked a question to the audience. I think it was like 100, people in the audience. And I said, hey, listen, let me ask you a question. How many of you want to work? How many of you want to win the lottery? 100% participation. Every hand went up. People want to win the lottery. And at the time, the lottery was almost $1 billion at that time. And then I asked the next question. How many of you went out and participated by buying a ticket? A small percentage of the hands went up. And usually it's like 2 or 3% of the people in the audience when I ask that question. So you mean to tell me there were 100 people, let's just using that as an example. There's 100 people in the audience. Out of 100 people, all 100 people said they want to win the lottery, but only 3 people bought a ticket. Why did only 3 people? Why did only 3% out of 97%, out of 100 people, why did only 3 people buy a ticket? Because the 3 people that purchased a ticket, they moved beyond just wanting to win, and they purchased an opportunity to win. So they had an expectation that led them to act a certain way. And that's why I say you don't get what you want in life, you get what you expect in life. And so I'm always encouraging people to look at the reason why, or the motive, or the thoughts behind the things that you do. When was the last time you interrogated a thought that came your way? When was the last time you sat down and you said, you know what, why do I think this way? Why do I think this way about food? Why do I think this way about exercising? Why do I think this way about relationship? Why do I think this way about my career, bonus, promotion, and raises? Oftentimes you'll find that that thought is attached to something someone said to you, maybe a negative or an emotional experience. Now, friend, understand this. I am not a licensed psychologist. I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm just simply speaking from experience that I've had and having conversations with other individuals. You don't get what you want in life, you get what you expect. And our expectations, I said this on an earlier broadcast, our expectations are hidden in the rhythm of our thinking. What does it mean to have a rhythm of our thinking? Now, mental health experts have proven that there are about 90%, let me back up. So mental health experts said that we think anywhere between 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Mental health expert told us. We think from 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And 90% of those thoughts are automatic. 90% of the thoughts are automatic. So 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, about 90% of those thoughts are automatic. So that means that about 10%, 5 or 6,000 or so thoughts, we are intentionally thinking. So our expectations are hidden in the rhythm of our thinking. So we have to look at what's the rhythm of our thinking. How do you find rhythm? Rhythm is tested and tried over time. You find the rhythm by listening to something over and over again. You find the rhythm by observing something over and over again. And what you will find, in my experience, what you will find is there's a rhythm to our thinking. If you get a compliment, someone says your hair looked nice today. And if you say, oh, thank you, this old thing, or if you think, oh, why didn't it look nice yesterday? Was my hair jacked up yesterday? Right? Or when you hear a compliment about your clothing, you downgrade your clothing. Hey man, that suit looks nice. Oh man, I had this suit for 3 years. Why did you say that? Why did you have the comment or thought about the suit? Why did you have the comment or thought of when someone compliments your hair? To me, that's the rhythm of your thinking. Somewhere in the rhythm of your thinking, there may be a thought that says, I really don't like myself, or I don't deserve a compliment. I'm just saying, friend. So we have to dig down, we have to get deep, and we have to look at, why do I think the way that I think? Because the way that I think is going to determine the way that I act. And the way that I consistently act is going to develop a habit, and habit sets the course for our lives. The way that I think, the way that I think is going to determine the way I feel. And the way that I feel is going to determine the way that I act. And the way that I act consistently is going to develop a habit. And that habit is going to determine the course of my life. Now, you can change the course of your life, but where do we start first? You start by changing the way that you think. And see, friend, if you and I can get better, can think better on the inside, and then we will start to produce better on the outside. Because here is a fact. What I hold in my mind, I will eventually hold in my hand. What I hold in my mind, I will eventually hold in my hand. So I have to spend time interrogating my thoughts. Richard, why do you think that way? Here are questions that I ask myself. How do I want to be seen? Right? How do I want to be seen? How do other people think? How do I want to be seen? How do other people see me? How do I want to be seen? And what do I have to do and say to become the person that I want to be seen as? For example, if you want to be seen as a person that is successful, then you have to start looking at, what do I have to say and do to be seen as a person that's successful? Now, friends, success starts on the inside. Success isn't measured by the number of assets. Success is measured by the internal thoughts, the healthy thoughts and emotions that we have about the state of our life. When in business consulting and working with companies, here's what I discovered, that people leave people long before they leave an organization. People will leave people long before they leave an organization. If you have a boss, a supervisor, a person that's over you, and they are just emotionally low, their emotional IQ is low, and they are abusive and they're not very positive, people leave that person. Even if they like the job, they will leave that person long before they leave a company. So as a leader, you and I have responsibilities in terms of what type of healthy thoughts and emotion we have for ourselves, and then what type of healthy thoughts and emotion that we have towards other people, towards our team that we're leading. Does that make sense? So we have to interrogate our thinking, because our expectations in life are hidden in the rhythm of our thinking. We have to go to the next level with our thinking, and we're doing this self-evaluation. How do I want to be seen? How do other people see me? How would I like to be seen? And what do I have to do? What do I have to do in order to be seen as the person that I want to be seen as? Now, let me preface that question with this. I'm assuming that the person that you want to be seen as is a person that you inwardly, healthy look at yourself. You want to be seen, right? No one wants to be seen as a loser. No one wants to be seen as a failure. No one wants to be seen as a person who doesn't know. I don't believe anyone genuinely wants to be seen as a loser. But we have to evaluate, where did that come from? Sometimes it's a result of a traumatic experience. Sometimes it's a thought. Let me share my story. A long time ago, at the beginning of my career, I was on an apprenticeship program, and it was a 4-year apprenticeship program, 8,000 hours, and I had to go through 5 levels of math. I had to take trig, I had to take geometry, right? I had to take beginners, intermediate, and advanced blueprint reading. It was to become a CNC operator, machinist for a company. And so I remember during my apprenticeship, about 2.5 years into my apprenticeship, I felt as though I was doing good, and it was time for an evaluation with the particular department that I was doing my internship in. And so the supervisor at the end of the shift called me into the office, and I was expecting the supervisor to say something like, "Rich, we thought, we can't imagine operating this company without you." I'm expecting to hear that, right? I'm expecting to hear something like, "Man, we're going to increase your salary. You've been such a blessing. You've been beneficial. You're this." That's what I was expecting to hear when it was time for the evaluation. However, the supervisor said, Rich, you seem to be the most incompetent person